This video is going to cover my expectations for you to mark the text. Everything that you read in this class, whether it is a PSAT passage or an article, or we're studying the Crucible, anything that you read, even if you have an online copy, the expectation is for you to mark the text. The expectation is for you to do multiple readings. You are to read the text multiple times. First reading, second reading, third reading. I'm going to explain it. You are headed to college. It is college bound expectation that you interact with the text. Now, as you grow older, you don't have a teacher directing you how. Hopefully, you use the strategies I present to you, and as you mature and go on to college, you keep what matters to you. But the crux of the matter is you understand and you accept that as an advanced learner, a college bound learner, you are to always mark the text. What do you notice when you read? What do you note? What are you paying attention to? That's the goal. Marking the text is active reading. Keep a pen in hand, a pencil in hand. If you are reading online, make sure you are thinking through the text. It is about you thinking. Good readers think through the text. It may slow you down. I've had many students who rebuke the marking the text because they just want to read quickly and get it over with. It may slow you down, but it is thoughtful reading. So even though the SAT times you want to make sure you are doing thoughtful reading. So everything that you have learned to do by marking the text, it's all now taking place in your head when you are completing timed reading assignments like the SAT. So it is thoughtful reading. Everything that you read, show your thoughts. And this is in every class. You can mark the text in your math class, mark the text in history, mark the text in science. This is not just about an English class. This is a critical reading skill. If you want to be in the elite, if you want to be the competition, you want to make sure you are showing your thoughts as you read. Good readers preview the text. Pen in hand, immediately look at the title, jot your thoughts. What is this going to be about? Turn the title into a question. Interact, interact, interact. And you begin by looking at the title. If there are graphs and images, go ahead and preview the text. Jot your thoughts. What does this graph show? What is it revealing? What is the information here? Look at the graph, look at the images. Don't just skip over those. You do all of this before you read the text. So you preview it. Number your passages, okay? Especially if you're in a discussion-based class. If you're in college and your professor is going to ask you to have a discussion, go ahead and number them so you can refer to those passages. In our class, number the passages, okay? Especially if we have an article, number the passages so that you can refer to, in paragraph 3 article, you'll be able to cite that. Okay, so the first reading, after you have previewed the text, your first reading, your focus that first time, and you can read it quickly. What does this text say? We got to figure out, what does it say? What's the literal meaning of the text? First, get a gist. Preview. What is it mainly about? How do you do that? Read all of the first paragraph. You don't have to, no pen in hand right now. Read all of the last paragraph. Then go back to the beginning. First paragraph, highlight that first sentence and highlight the first sentence of each additional paragraph. Okay, in this class, use the yellow highlighter. Avoid dark color highlights. Your paper will be rejected. Always avoid dark color highlights, okay? So you get a gist. At the end of the passage, quickly write, this passage, this article, this story, this poem is mainly about one sentence. So now you've helped your brain. Your brain has an idea of what it's about to get into. So this passage is mainly about. So that's the first reading. You've already previewed the text. Now, before you jump in to read, you get the gist. And you go in to read. Leave reading tracks. When I look at something you have read, it should be obvious that you've been there. Choose one color. You'll do multiple readings and you get to change the colors as you read. But on that first reading, remember, you're trying to focus on what is it that the text says. What does this text say? What do you note? What do you notice? Circle and define unfamiliar words. Jot down questions. Usually these questions are best if they are how or why questions. So how, why? What is it that you want to clarify? Anything that you're confused on, note that. So you're doing that during this first reading. During the second draft reading, what is the author showing? What is the author revealing? So you go back, you understand what it's about literally. So now it's time to access deeper meaning. Let's go beyond the surface, beyond the literal meaning. What is the author showing us and revealing? What's being said about the topic? What's being said about the characters? So this is when you want to begin to jot notes of your interpretations. Focus on diction. Notice the author's word choice. So how does the author feel about the topic? She's making it very clear with the word she chooses. So pay attention, okay, to the word choice. During this second reading, pay attention to details that the author is using, the facts that are being included, and why are they being included? What are they revealing? This is what you're thinking. Imagery. What does the author choose to show us with the five senses? What do we see? What do we hear? And why is the author focusing on this? So the big question of the second read is why? Why is the author showing us? Why is this paragraph important? You're beginning to do analysis on this second reading. Now, in this class, I have to see your comments, okay? You have to show me evidence of what you're thinking. So even though you may use different symbols, which I'll show you shortly, I have to see your thoughts. You don't have to write in complete sentences when you are jotting down keywords and key terms, but your thinking has to be evident. Now, the questions that you leave, that should be, in complete sentences. You should have question marks, but you might write quickly. So, or it could be just part of a question. As long as you may write a word with a question mark because you're going fast. I don't want you to slow down because in real life, even when I write, I might not write a whole question in a whole complete sentence because I'm going fast. I don't want you to be, thwarted by, oh my God, I got to write in complete sentences while I'm taking notes. I need you to learn how to move quickly, even though you're doing slow reading, because slow actually means thoughtful. So slow reading is thoughtful reading, okay? So I don't want you to think, oh gosh, how can I do this and go fast? Well, you're thinking your way through the text. We don't read. Critical reading is thinking through the text. So you're actually thinking through the text, okay? So this second draft, you're focusing on the why. Why is the author doing this? Why is the author doing that? Okay? And you want to show your reactions to what it is that you're reading. Something you agree with, you disagree with. Write that. Say it. Make sure you are interacting with the text. Then the third draft, you go back, and this is where the magic happens, especially for advanced readers. You're focusing on the how, okay? This focuses on the how of what the author has done. Let's say the author upset you. Let's say from your reactions, you were upset or you laughed. How did the author make you laugh? So now you're going back and you're paying attention to the how. Focus on the language. What type of language does the author use? Is it formal? Is it informal? Are there figurative devices, similes, metaphors? What are you noticing about what the author has done? How does the author structure sentences? Syntax means sentences. Are they long? Does she use long sentences, short sentences, both? Are there sentences that start with and or but? Are there sentences that maybe a one-word sentence, a two-word sentence? Now you're paying attention to the way the author has written the text and what effect does it have on the reader. Are there shifts? Notice the punctuation, dashes, semicolons, colons. How has the author created meaning? So that's what you're focusing on. How has the author created meaning? How has the author created meaning? You're focusing on the author's craft during that third reading. So again, on the first reading, first you preview the text. Second is the first reading. What does the text say? Third, you are focusing in on, and of course you're leaving reading tracks, okay? And even when you do a second reading, change color, change the color. So now you're going back and you're using a different color. I don't want to control your colors. I just want to see that you've used a lot of colors. So I know I've given you use these colors. In reality, I just want to see a lot of colors. I want to see your thoughts. Now, unfortunately, you just can't have markings without thoughts. So every time you underline, there should be a thought. Every time you circle, there should be a thought. Because as your teacher, when I'm evaluating this, when I'm reading your work, I don't know what your underlines mean. I don't know what your circles and your squares mean. So if you mark something, for every mark there has to be a thought. You have, even if it's just one word, you have to write a thought so that I can see and understand your markings. But change color with the second draft, change color with the third draft, okay? Other ways to interact. Circles, use circles for various reasons. Underlines, double underlines. When you're writing in the margin, put your questions in your comments. Some of you, if you're copying and pasting and using Google or Word because you are interacting online, write your write your comments inside the text. So here you may have, your thought inside the text, and then you change the color because you show me that you've done it inside the text and you italicize it. And I know that that's your thoughts. You just do it directly inside the text. Use parentheses, use the brackets, use arrows if you must, however you want to interact with the text. Asterisks, stars, question marks, exclamation marks. They emphasize thought. But remember, when you make a mark, there has to be words to accommodate. So your paper should be riddled with words so I can see your thinking. Now, when you're doing this and you don't have to turn it into a teacher, you don't have to have words all over the place. You know what your exclamation point means, but because it's inside your head. But for the sake of school and the fact that your work has to be evaluated, I'm not inside your head. So you have to make sure your paper it is riddled with thoughts. Your thoughts have to be all over the page, okay? But in real life, when you're in college, you may just put an exclamation point, a double underline, and you know what that means. Nobody's checking your marking, but I'm checking your markings, so I have to know what your markings mean. Change your colors, change colors for each of your drafts of your readings, and then use emojis to show your reactions. But again, when you use an emoji, leave a word so that I can understand what that means. So these are my expectations for any and everything that we read this quarter.